Greetings, people. We are going to talk about Linux market share is on a decline. Ooh. This is also where I'm going to talk about this whole notion that people say, oh, Linux is the best operating system ever and blah, 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 and the best OS in the world. And I'm going to tell you and talk to you about why that's not the case. But before I do that, comment, like, subscribe, go onto my Discord, where you can submit videos that I can react to or talk about like this, and 9 out of 10 times I will do it. The time span depends on how busy I am in real life. And this is like the stat count, it's the site that almost any Linux YouTuber or Linux user like to use and stuff like that. Before we go into this, I just want to take a little bit of a nice look at this here. This is a site that they're more on the business side of things, but there's one graph that I find really, really funny. Global Linux operating system market share by distribution. So what they mean here is like server, desktops, and virtual machines. That's what they're looking at here. Servers is like, if you take all Linux use, like where is Linux being used the most? We all know the servers. Then virtual machines is the second. And desktops is the smallest one. This should not be surprising to you. Because if you look at like what's going on with the Linux kernel, what's going on with Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedora, SUSE, OpenSUSE, a lot of the, I call them non-hobbyist projects. I would even call maintenance OS and elementary OS kind of like a hobby OS, because they're not like massive corporations. They are not like big organizations. They are like a handful of people. You know, they don't have hundreds of fucking employees, basically. And if you see about what if the majority of improvement that's going on with most, not all, but most Linux, GNU, or FOSS software, we bundle all of that together. It's like server related, it's corporate related, it's faster I/O, it's faster SQL, it's faster Apache, it's faster all this and that and that, which some of it will benefit you and me on the desktop. For every like desktop feature you see, like the server virtual machine market gets 10. But here's the stat counter. So March last year, we were at 4.3%. February this year, we are 3.81. September last year, September, October is where everyone was going really nuts over Linux, because it was like 1.48 or 4.48, 4.3, and then it went into a decline. And you see here, unknown is going up. And a lot of people say, well, unknown is Linux. Well, not really. Unknown is because they don't know what OS it is. It could be Haiku, it could be FreeBSD, it could be Colibri OS, it could be SkyOS, it could be BOS, it could be OS2. It's still around out there. Someone's still using OS2 WAP somewhere. It could also be Windows, it could also be Mac OS. Saying that unknown is automatically Linux is disingenuous, because we don't fucking know. If we should be generous, if we should be fair, if we should be level-headed, you will take unknown and equal distribute it into how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, even others. 5. In 5 equal big chunks and put it in there. Others can also mean FreeBSD and stuff like that. I see so many Linux YouTubers go out and say, oh, the unknown is like 90% Linux or 80% Linux. No. There is a lot of reasons why you will want to run a Mac OS installation or Windows installation or FreeBSD, even a Linux installation if you're on servers and stuff like that. And you don't want the public to know what OS you're running. Or you don't want sites where they take these telemetries and these stats know what OS you're running. Because it could become a security factor, it could become an attack vector. Because then they know, okay, you're running this OS, therefore I have this toolbox to attack that OS. That could be one of the reasons for it. Not saying it is, but it's part of the reason why a lot of people go into the unknown. So if you hear someone say that it's mostly Linux, disregard them, they're already biased. I for one don't give a fuck what OS is the biggest. But you always see this quite a lot when Linux starts to go down. Or actually here it went up and others went up also. So that kind of went up. But a fun thing is here, Windows went down, or not Windows, Linux is trending down. So let's remove Chrome OS. Let's remove others. Because these are the ones that you're most interested in. Even if you take away unknown, let's do that. The top 3 operating system on Earth. Linux is going down, and it went up a little bit here. Mac OS is going quite up. It went down a little bit, but it's going up. Windows is still on a steady decline. Well, Windows kind of fluctuates. I noticed over the last 15 years, it tends to be in the mid 70s to what is the lowest they are right now. Let's say mid 70s to high 60s. But Windows is kind of, if you zoom out all the way to like, let's say 2000 to now, Windows is kind of steady. Mac OS and Linux go a lot up or down. Mac OS goes kind of steady. What does this tell you? Even if unknown was 100% Linux, does this tell you that Linux is the best desktop operating system in the world? Does this tell you that Linux is the OS everyone wants and everyone is going out and getting? No. What is the OS people want? What is the OS people are using? It's not Linux. Heck, it's not even Mac OS when you think about it. It's Windows. Do people really, really want Windows? They probably don't want Windows. They probably want, people want the least resistance. They want the easiest, most convenient, least resistant OS they can get. So why are they using Windows? Oh, it's because it's pre-installed and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of have a little bit of truth to it. Little Bob over there in the corner, yelling and screaming with your Linux Penguin hat on, getting a boner because I just acknowledged that unknown is 100% Linux. But calm your bone a little bit here. Nobody's 100% satisfied. If you're in a relationship, friendship, work relationship, romantic relationship, you are never 100% satisfied. The person that you are in that relationship or people that you're in that relationship with will at some point irritate the living shit out of you. They will make you irate. They will say or do something that makes you want to twist their fucking nipples off. Okay? They will eat the fucking tiramisu in a way that makes you want to punch them in the face. You're not doing it, of course, we're being a little bit comical here. But you still stick with them. Because for one bad thing they do or one irritating thing they do, there's a vast fucking minority of good things they do. So you deal with the bad things. This is what we see here. Is Windows the best OS in the world? No. Is it the most secure, stable, faster, all that shit? Probably not. But it's the thing that most people want to use. Or not, maybe not want, but are content on using. Why? It's already there. Or they know how to use it. It has the software and hardware support and all that they want. It's the path of least resistance. If I want to hire people, this is a really good way of actually gauging this. There are a chance, or well, let me put it this way. Out of the hundreds of people that apply for that job, most of them I could put in front of a Windows computer with no problem. They may have to learn the internal software, but they don't have to start learning the OS. They don't have to start learning, all the quirks that comes with that OS and the different keyboard shortcuts that comes with that OS and stuff like that. Because they grew up with Windows, they know Windows is the most used system, they know people using Windows. They may know someone using Mac and maybe someone using Linux. But if I'm hiring people and we're running Mac OS, I now have to take that into the account equation here and being like, okay, Amy, you're a fucking smart girl, man. Like, you have an IQ 2000. I can't fucking keep up with you here. But we are running Mac OS. How well versed are you in all the command shortcuts in Mac OS and using Expose and all that stuff that that will make your workflow work faster and better with the tooling that we have? Can that just drop you in front of Mac OS and you'll feel at home? Or do you need a little bit of a learning curve? And if they say, I need a little bit of a learning curve, but I then ask Josephine, and she's like, I'm happy. I know Mac OS, it's like a second hand for me. Even though Josephine may not be as good or as qualified, well, I'm now getting someone that I don't have to train up in two softwares. So Josephine can be productive faster than Amy can. If we were all using Linux and I ask the same shit. What if the program crashes? Can you figure out how to open the program again in Linux? Huh? Get what I'm coming at here. You have to understand that the best is not always the most secure, the fastest, the most stable. It's what people are content with using, or want to using, or are used to using. And yes, Windows and Mac OS had a head start because they got, Windows got pre-installed and dealt with the whole monopoly in the 90s on a lot of computers. Mac OS got, it's you have to spend a lot of money on Mac hardware. Linux is just, nobody gives a fuck, to be honest. Because the benefits you get with Linux are things that the accountant don't give a fuck about. They don't give a fuck about openness. They don't give a fuck about freedom in the source code. They don't give a fuck about TPL versus MIT versus BSD licenses. They don't give a fuck about that they can customize Linux shit out the desktop. At most, they just want to do light dark theme, and then I want a background picture of my kids, or dog, or bunny, or penguin, or me in a fucking GIMP suit, or whatever the fuck it is. That's their customizing. Oh, you're owning your hardware and software, it's bullshit, but they don't care about that. They don't. What people care about is, when I go to work, how fast can I start to do work? What our employer want out of his or her employees? When they come to work, how fast can they go from nothing to start to working? How often will this shit break? How difficult is it to find people that can fix those mistakes? How difficult is it to get to people that knows how to work in that ecosystem? The more nuanced those ecosystems become, the harder it gets to find people that can fix it, build for it, maintain it, and use it. And it's a kind of little bit of a chicken and egg situation we're going into here also. The reason why a lot of people stick with Windows is because there are unlimited of resources out there, both human resources and learning resources. Let's say you just need an IT guy. It's so much easier to find an IT guy that are super well into working with Windows 10, Mac OS, and Linux. You want developers. It's so much easier to find developers that can develop for Windows than Mac and Linux. So unless you have a really, 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 let me do one more time, really niche reason to go with Linux, it just makes no sense. And you go in with licenses and money and stuff like that. When it comes to companies with the tax reduction and blah, 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 paying for a fucking Windows license makes no fucking... It's not like... They probably spend more fucking money on a birthday gift for an employee or something like that. They spend more money on business-to-businesses gifts to get a fucking customer in the door. Spending $100 on something for businesses is like you and me spending $1. It basically don't mean fucking anything. Or they buy secondhand that already have Windows on it and it's already used, it's already there. This is why when you go into like the creative world and you see a lot of Macs, it's like, why are there so many Photoshoppers using Macs, and why is there so many artists using Macs? It's because Mac has cornered that market. They have made sure that if you are doing a lot of creative work, Mac OS is kind of built around that workflow. This is one of the things I hate the most about using Windows. Is like, it's just so easy to, I can right click, remove a background from an image, I can turn it around, I can super fast, easily preview it, and Mac OS just makes sense for creative people. So if you're sitting and rendering all day, you're doing creative stuff, 3D rendering is still Windows. But anything besides that, this is where you go into a situation where you can say, oh, Macs makes sense. It will most likely make your work faster, better, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the creative software works better on Mac than Windows, and definitely Linux. Linux don't even come close to the workflow that creative people can get on Windows and Mac OS. Let's say you are, we only do back-end fucking stuff, and it's back-end for web services, web servers. Most web servers are running Linux. Yeah, you should probably have a Linux machine. But those are like, so fucking small. So this whole thing that you see a lot of Linux people come out, Linux is the best fucking thing, and everyone wants Linux, and they need it. No, they don't. Nowadays, in 2025, most people understand the concept of operating systems. Most people, even non-techies, understand that there is Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. They may fucking fuck Linux up with Android. Who gives a... But they understand that those three OSs exist. They have heard Linux from one IT guy that's tried to hook them up while rebooting their computer, or they were sitting in the cafeteria and heard some nerds talking about how stupidly bad Windows is and Linux, blah, 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 blah. People know about Linux nowadays. If you went like 20 years back and you said, oh, it's because nobody knows about Linux, I would kind of agree with you. But here's the thing, 20 years ago, you could go into a store and buy Linux. Red Hat Linux, SUSE Linux, Mandrake Linux, there were some other ones I can't remember right now. They were all available in storefronts around the world. So I mostly have a US viewer base. So Walmart, Sears, I think I had it. A lot of computer stores would have Linux in them. Dedicated computer stores. It was a thing before it became more easy and convenient to just download it from the internet. Back then, you could also buy Linux on laptops. We did it on a live stream. I should watch my live stream when I could get around doing them. I think it was 2007 or 8 was when the first mass production of laptops started to sell laptops with Linux on it. Before that, e-machines, or what they were called, Linspire could also get in stores. They would have computers with Linux on them in stores. Heck, Chromebooks today. Chrome OS is probably more Linux than Android is. Well, it is. You can go in and you can buy Linux in that fashion. But what Chromebooks give the people is not what most people want, so therefore they are not buying it. And that's the thing. It's a little bit like, I live in Denmark. Is Danish the most efficient and best language to speak? No, not by far. But it's the language we speak, man. It's the language I got pre-installed with. It's the language that everyone around me got pre-installed with. Is that unfair to Chinese or Mandarin or Spanish or English and Japanese? Yeah, if you want to speak those languages and you happen to be born in Denmark, yeah, it is. But we all stick with, English is kind of starting to slowly take over the global world because of the internet. But why is everyone still speaking Danish when it's not the most efficient, not the best language in the world? Well, you can communicate with most people. So we are dealing with the bullshit that comes with it. Because in the area, when you're living in Denmark, you are speaking mostly... Again, it's starting with the whole internet thing, starting to muddy a little bit, but you're still mostly engaged with other Danish people speaking Danish. And that is why Windows is the most used. Yes, it has some advantages. Let's not say advantages here. It has some it has some favoritisms. It's what most people used probably for the first OS. It got pre-installed in a lot of computers. It's what their grandpas knows. It's what their grandmother knows. It's what their mom and dad knows. This, blah, 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 blah. It's what they're using in school. But it happens just to be the one that everyone is talking. If OSs was languages, it's the same situation. Are there better ones out there? I would say Mac OS, Linux, FreeBSD, Haiku, by far is better than Windows. But not a lot of people speak those languages. But if I go into an area or into a country that speak Mac OS, now that becomes the most used or the most potent OS to use in that scenario. So if you go into the graphic field, they probably speak a lot of Mac OS language there. If you go into the backend server field, they probably speak a lot of Linux language there. You get what I'm coming at here. Should Windows be the most used OS? No. Is it? Yeah. Should Danish people be speaking Danish? In my opinion, no. I hate Danish. But it is. That's what we do. That's the world we live in. Could we change it? Probably. Does it make sense? No. Most fucking companies run Windows with no issues for decades. They have no more security breaches than normal. They don't get hacked and blah, blah, blah. There's still phishing attempts and stuff like that we have to deal with. But you also get that under Linux, you get that under Mac OS, and yes, you could debate and say that it's a little bit harder to get access with Linux, yes. But trust me, you probably have better security on your local Windows computer at home if you're a little bit tech savvy than most companies have on their whole fucking infrastructure. Unless it's a company that is like the size of Microsoft and Oracle, or companies that are dealing with a lot of sensitive data. But your mom and pop company, your small to mid-size offices, password 123, NAS 1234556, server 3456, or 3456. That's their passwords. Or they have it on a napkin or under the fucking desk, or on a post-it note fucking put on the fucking screen. And they still don't get hacked, they still don't fucking get spoofed, they still don't lose their data and stuff like that, because hackers and stuff like that, it's just more beneficial to go against servers or go against Google than go against, mom and pop company with 5 employees and that maybe has like 100,000 in the bank. Like, they basically have no fucking money, basically. So it's just more beneficial to go for servers and stuff like that. But you get what I'm coming at here. Convenience, familiarities, and fitting in to some degree is more important than all of the other fucking shit that we sit here and bitch and moan about on YouTube, and we go on to Reddit and go nuts about that in a Reddit post. It's fun, it's interesting, we can nerd out over it, but most people don't give a fuck. And for most people, it's not even needed to go to that extreme, or they don't even need to change, because the world we think we live in, or we think everyone lives in, they don't. Just because it's the most powerful, the most blah blah blah, don't mean it's the best. Unless in that situation, that's what you need. I need the most fastest rendering machine. Then you find the software, you find the hardware, and the OS that combined will give you the fastest rendering speed. If that's the only task it's doing. And that may mean that Windows is rendering slower than Linux, but the software runs more efficiently on Windows than Linux. So therefore, the overall render time is faster on Windows. But Linux has faster I/O output, reading to the disk or something like that. So you'd be like, but when we're rendering, we're reading to disk, so therefore we should be using Linux. Yeah, but the software and the drivers is not that optimized. So even though Linux technically is fast at reading the files to disk, or are using less heat on the CPU, the unoptimized Windows is actually better because all the other components is optimized. That's how you should come about solving what is the best. You look at the whole package. What in the whole package, when it's all combined, you do a test. Which one win? That's how you figure out what's the best. I want the best Photoshop machine. Put Linux, Mac OS, put all things together, figure out which one is the best within, like, say, a price bracket. That's how you figure out what's the best for one scenario. And most people don't look for the best in one scenario unless you are on a server, render farm. That's where you need a supercomputer. That's where you need the best for one task. Most people need what is on average the best. Not what is the best in this unique scenario. I'm running a generalized OS that do a lot of fucking things. What OS gives me the best experience in all of those things? It may fail or be bad at one thing, but the 9 other things it's good at. Where other OS may fail in 5 things and the other 5 is really great at. People are going to go with the one that fails in one and are good at the others, but not great. See you all later. Bye bye.